Hi there, and welcome back to my garden. Finally, it's time to plant the main potato bed. The soil temperature is above 10 degrees, so it makes sense to put the potatoes into the soil that I was chitting indoors. I was preparing this bed about 2-3 weeks ago, which means that some of the weeds have started to grow, and this leads me to the old recommendation: if you're starting a new bed or if you're having a bed that has a huge pressure from weeds, plant potatoes there to get rid of most of them. And it just makes sense because you're working the soil quite a lot. You can see how much came up here. That's lamb's quarter mostly. And by just raking through the soil and making the trenches for the potatoes, there you go. By making those trenches, you automatically uproot or just cover in soil a lot of those weeds. So most of them will just disappear. And this will happen as you go along through the season several times. So it's quite a convenient method. You have to plant the potatoes in some way anyways, so you are simultaneously getting rid of like 90% of the weeds. A couple will come up anyways, but most of them will just disappear. And if you get lots of rocks in your soil, you can go through and pick them out at the same time, which I'm always doing. This area here has lots of tiny rocks, and by planting them the traditional way, I space them roughly this far apart. That's like 30 to 40 centimeters. Also across the rows. So the tubers have about the same distance from each other across the rows and within the rows. And there's lots of different recommendations how the spacing should look, but essentially it depends on the quality of your soil and how much rain you're getting and how hot your climate is getting. Think hot and not that much rain. Space them a little further apart so each plant can grab more water from the soil, but not too far to expose too much soil to the sun. So it's just play around with it and see what spacing makes the most sense for you. For me, it turns out to be about 12 tubers per 3 square meters, which leads to a rake spacing. So all I do is I make 2 trenches. I like planting double rows for some reason. And then I put in the tubers, and then I just cover the trench and make a flat, reasonably flat surface, and then I go through and pick more rocks, and then I walk away and wait for them to show their first leaves above the soil. I don't water regardless of how dry or wet it is. The tubers have quite a bit of water stored, and they will make roots first, and before they have leaves and are essentially turning into a plant, they don't need that much water to get growing. So in the beginning it's quite easy going, and when the first leaves show up, I will go through and do some careful weeding with a rake again, to get rid of everything that's coming up in between. But most likely these won't show any leaves within the next week or two. So something like 10 days, 10-14 days is quite normal for my area. We'll see. Another tip I have is, if you have different varieties in one long bed like I do, in case you're planting potato varieties with different skin colors, like yellow skin, blue, yellow, I like to alternate colors so I don't accidentally mix up the potato varieties, because sometimes they look very similar even when they're fresh. So if you have the possibility to alternate the colors between the varieties, like red, white, blue, white, blue, yellow, something like that, it makes life a lot easier. If you can't do that, if you have lots of the same skin color, try to find something else that makes them visibly different from each other. Here I get 2 blue ones. Alva, that's one of my own seedlings that I bred. It's a purple and very round golf ball sized potato with deeper eyes. And then I get these ones, blue Ajanhuiri, a wild potato, and they are fingerling shaped. So those could go next to each other, and I wouldn't mix them up anyways, just because they have such a different shape. So that's one of my tips. Why I mark out the different varieties with rocks that I wrote on, that's 2 reasons. The magpies like to steal labels in my area, so I lost a lot of labels to the magpies. Saw them fly away with them. They seem very fancy to decorate their nests with. And the other reasons is the lawnmower. The small plastic labels, they get run over quite frequently here, and the rocks, for some reason, my husband avoids them with the lawnmower. So they're quite a good thing to have. Yep, we probably get to see why I cover most of my beds when I was sewing something. Mr. Cat. Oh, yeah, some privacy. Yeah, it's just fertilizer. So that's what I'm doing today and probably tomorrow. So I'm not quite sure if I will have the space for all the potatoes up here, but I get some more space down in the garden. To plant more of them. I saved some areas where I haven't planted potatoes for a long time, and I will likely plant the ones that are a bit more finicky with the scab. I will plant them there, and yeah, and it sounds like I get to collect some eggs now. So thank you for watching. Happy gardening. Happy potato planting in case you haven't done it yet. And see you next time. Bye.